Set it down.
Pull free stuff on it.
Okay, I think it's good. I think it's recording.
So this is my
Oh, sorry.
managing student learning through digital technologies presentation. And how I'm going to start is I'm going to show a short Jing video about kind of my growth through this year in technology and some of the technologies that I wanted to highlight that I used in my student teaching.
In my student teaching this whole year, in the beginning I felt just overwhelmed by technology. I felt like I couldn't handle it, I couldn't do it, I didn't know how I was going to incorporate it into my classroom. It just made me feel overwhelmed, and I felt very unsuccessful in my experiences with technology, and I didn't know how I was going to bring technology to my students and make it so it was helpful for them to learn. And one of the places that I started was with my blog, Mallory Student Teaches. And through this blog we had to talk about our experiences, but also we had to upload videos of ourselves through YouTube, and I got practice doing that. And so this blog just offered a great opportunity for me to kind of catalog my experience through student teaching online, which was great. Last semester I also learned a lot of new technologies. I got practice with Edmodo, and I got practice with the Smartboard, as well as Wordle, which is a great tool for kind of organizing words and getting kids to see the big idea. I got practice with SpiderScribe, a concept mapping tool. I also got practice with Google Earth to create lessons, mapping lessons. It's great for that. Flickr as well, pictures to use, images for any lesson. It's just a great tool for that. So I got practice with a whole host of technologies last semester. And this semester in my student teaching, I got to put a lot of those into practice. So that was really cool. So let me show you Edmodo. This is probably the thing that I use most frequently to communicate with my students. Because if you'll notice here, this is my space, and it looks a lot similar to Facebook, so the kids enjoy using it. And if you'll notice here, this is the feed, their news feed, and they have a group with the team. The two teachers and the team have a group, and so we would post weekly planner pages up there, any other information that the students needed to know. They had a question, they could post it to us, they could post it to the students that were on Edmodo. It was just a very good communication tool. Also, if you'll notice here at the bottom, the Cuban Missile Crisis Prezi could be uploaded to Edmodo, which allowed for students that were absent to be able to view the Prezi. So that was great. And then another thing that I got a lot of practice with was the Smartboard. And here, if you'll notice, is Smartboard that I created for the Homefront After World War II lesson that I was doing. So this Smartboard, I created one for every day, and over here you see my list of them. So, a list of all my Smartboards for the Cold War unit, and this is just a great new age blackboard to use, chalkboard to use, and I really enjoyed learning the ins and outs of this program and the fact that you can have timers, and there's lots of interesting things you can do to be more than just a chalkboard. And finally, the thing that I felt very comfortable with technology, and so at this point I wanted to kind of test it out and kind of see what I could make of it. And so here you'll notice is a clicker review, and clickers are, electronic buzzers basically, and they transmit. And I wanted to test out reviewing, because reviewing can boring, and so this interaction, I wanted to see if they could be more interactive, reviews could be more interactive, and so I gave them this review, this clicker review, and we presented it, and it's really easy. You just put in the questions, and you can have images, and the students will respond. And I'll tell you a little bit more about this in my presentation.
So as you saw, the way that I tested my newfound appreciation for technology and confidence in technology is through experimenting with different types of reviews. Because reviews can be boring, kind of tedious, I wanted to see if I could maybe somehow make it more exciting using technology. So again, the context of my classroom is I have a lot of varying abilities. I have a lot of students that have special needs and that have a lot of different types of needs, and I just wanted to be able, in this technology, to be able to have everyone use it. So, and doing it in the classroom in a review was a way that everyone could use it. There was a lot of technology in my school. I had a smartboard in my room. My cooperating teacher had an iPad that we used with flashcards, and we used Edmodo regularly and Blogster. So the school is pretty technologically advanced that I was at. So that's the context. So within my research of using the clickers, my question became, how can I make test review more interactive and engaging in my classroom? So that's what and the data that I gathered was, I started out by, the clicker is really interesting because it's awesome because you can print out the sheets of their grade sheets how they scored on each review, and so I printed those out, and then I also, to counter the clicker review, I had a PowerPoint review that I created, and I wanted the PowerPoint review to be similar enough to the clicker review that the students would be able to see a difference. So I collected those score sheets from the PowerPoint review as well. I also collected student surveys based on how they liked the clicker review, or if they liked the clicker review better than the PowerPoint review. And then also I used my observations. So here's the survey that I gave my students. The main questions that I asked them 7 questions. The main ones that I was focusing on was number 6. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much did you like the ability to immediately check your answer in the clicker review? And also question 7, which review do you think prepared you for the test better? And when I presented this to them, I told them, don't think about which information you liked better. Just think about which review you thought was why you liked it better and which one you liked better. So here's another example of the clicker questions. So, and as I looked at this data and analyzed this data, I found through their responses that through their test scores, they didn't really, how much they did, how better they or worse they did on the 2 reviews was about the same, and it compared to how well or not well they did on both tests. So that didn't really help me figure out that. What really helped me to understand how the technology could be used in my classroom is the survey and the responses that the students gave. The students liked the ability to immediately check their answers, and they liked the ability to go over those questions because they said their responses were that it felt like it stuck better in their minds once we presented the question and then we went right over it, because in the PowerPoint review I had to go through all the questions one time through and then we talked about them. So with the clicker review, the class was much livelier. I enjoyed the interaction. The students had this kind of lively sense of this is fun and we're interacting with the students, but they were also asking questions and they were participating more. In the PowerPoint review, because they had to answer on their own sheet of paper. They were quieter throughout, even though at the end when we went over, I tried to have an environment that was lively. They didn't really, kind of the beginning set the tone for the class. So the clicker review, when you buzz in and then you see that everyone's done, and then we go over the answer, and you see how many students selected what answer, it just creates this environment of liveliness. I don't know. It's just what I thought when I was participating in both reviews. I thought that was how I envisioned the test review, much more so than the PowerPoint review. I just mentioned that the answers could be shown who chose what answer, and that works because it's easy to see that people chose an answer that was wrong, and that way you can go over each answer and why it was wrong, rather than just saying, oh, you got this one, this is the right answer, move on. So I liked that ability in the technology. And my reflections of the clicker is definitely, if my school has it, I would definitely use it because it was really fun, and I think the kids really enjoyed it, and it wasn't just a game. A lot of times you have reviews that are boring and we're just going to review in the book, or we're going to play a game and not really go over the answers, but this allowed it to be a game and you could go over the answers. So I would definitely use it. I would use it as a test review. I would also use it as like a quick end of class to see what they knew after, or what question, like what they were still confused about after a lecture thing. So that was my technology experiment.